Hi, Olga. Hello. So I've got Olga Bogdashina with me, and I've known Olga for quite a number of years now. And 10 years ago, I think I invited her to do a conference for me here in Lincoln, in which we were very successful doing that at the Hilton Hotel. And since then, I've been a couple of times in touch with Olga, asking questions or whatever. But what intrigued me about Olga was her ability to bring in a different perspective into the autism diagnostic assessment, which was the sensory. We used to have what was called the triad of impairments, which no longer exists. But from the triad, there was a fourth one, and that was sensory. And that sensory had to be looked at as part of the diagnostic assessment. And Olga was the basic first person to bring this in. And at the time was considered a little bit of a laughing stock when she was writing her dissertation on this. But we'll let Olga tell her story, and we're going to talk about the senses of hypo and hyper, just a very small chunk as an introduction to a series of that will be Olga will do for us over the coming months. So thank you very much, and over to you, Olga.
Oh, thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you. Because even now, not everyone knows some details about these sensory problems. So let us start with my favorite theory, not the triad of impairments, not even theory of mind, but intense world theory. It was formulated by the Swiss researchers Markram in 2007. Autistic children and adults see too much, feel too much, remember too much, because the world around them is too intense and painful. And that's why today we will start with these hyper and hyposensitivities to understand why they feel uncomfortable, or sometimes they cannot tolerate the pain, this frustration, this confusion around them. Let us start with hypersensitivities. We all know, it's well known now, hypersensitivities. The lights are too bright or the sound's too loud. By the way, even the sounds sometimes we cannot hear, somewhere from 2 rooms from here.
Yes.
Some children, for them, they are very loud. And they are sitting in the classroom and they are distracted by these sounds, and the teacher or other children, they don't understand when the child starts behaving very strangely, or smells, right, or even movements or tastes, and so on and so forth. What is important to remember, sensory profile of every and each child is very important, because unfortunately they are very different. In the same classroom, we can have two children, for example, one with hypervision, cannot tolerate, say, bright lights or fluorescent lights, and somebody with hypovision. The world is too dim. He wants more lights. And can you imagine one child will switch on, switch off light, there will be this fight between them. The same goes about auditory. For some, hypo hearing. For some, it is hyper hearing. See, that is why it is important to know sensory profiles of all children in the classroom. It's not good if we place this like hypo and hyper children in the same classroom. I can promise you the teacher will look for another place of employment very soon, because it is impossible to accommodate their needs. They are the opposite, right? So it is, hypersensitivity is very, very important. Hyposensitivity, right? Again, not enough light, not enough sounds, not enough smells, and these children will seek this stimuli around them all the time. But again, there is another problem. You see, this child is hypo, say, to lights and hypo to auditory sounds, right? The problem solved? No, unfortunately not. Because one and the same child can be both hyper and hypo to the same stimuli, because their perception fluctuates. Perhaps he is a bit unwell, temperature, whatever, or tired. And that's why, see, One day he will be very, very responsive to these loud sounds. The next day, no reaction. So this is very important because I always say, remember that whatever autism is, it is never boring. You have to be a detective all the time. You have to know your children, the children you live with. Like my son is autistic, right? Not high functioning, but you see, I can see this fluctuation in him as well. That's why, remember about this, right? Next, we have to provide this environment. How we can do this? The problem is, next time we will talk about these floods of stimulation, about Gestalt perception. Because I visited many classrooms, many schools, and what I noticed, some classrooms, all walls are covered with bright pictures, with everything. For some children, it is very difficult because they cannot filter information. They are flooded by this stimulation. So it is important to remember about it. And not only hypersensitivity, but all these floods and inability to filter it. Again, about sounds. Don't shout, it's obvious, right? But there are sounds we outside and whatever. Remember about this. Lights. What I noticed, interestingly, in England, nearly in every school, because I visited other countries and I worked in Europe and in other countries, and there it's better. Sorry, it is better because in English schools, fluorescent lights are everywhere. And for many, and I do mean for many individuals, both children and adults, fluorescent lights, it's impossible. They can't think. You know why I'm so sure? Because I am this person. I can't tolerate fluorescent lights. My vision is so hypersensitive. That's why I'm wearing these glasses while working at the computer. I can tell you, if I am in the room with fluorescent lights, in 5 minutes, I lose the ability to think. I don't understand what is going on around me. Somebody is talking to me and I can't understand. I mean, I can hear all the words and sentences. That is, my son is like this. That's why, see, I can help him better because I do understand what it is like. And that's why, please remember, I do know that the climate, the weather in England, right? Summer 3 days and then winter again and gloomy. And yes, lights are necessary, but it is possible to replace them. Because as I said, in other countries, yes, there are lights, but not fluorescent lights. And they put these frames around them. And this is one of the most important problems in the schools in England. And because sometimes teachers switch on the light automatically, whether there is sunshine outside or whatever, they enter the classroom, they switch on the light. If it is not necessary, please don't switch it on. Lights. Then I will tell you how to help them with this vision, this desensitization. I will tell you in a minute. But please remember, what we think is enjoyable, for example, fireworks, all these events at school, for them, it's impossible to tolerate. This sensory intolerance. They are too open, their senses are too sharp, too open in this world. That's why, see, we have to accommodate to provide a safe place with them. What is more, beware of the colors and patterns like polka dots or all these squares and whatever on your clothes and your perfume, because some colors, they cannot be in the room if they cannot tolerate this color. For example, wallpapers of certain colors, like my very good friend, an American with Asperger's syndrome, she said when she was a schoolgirl, she couldn't tolerate yellow color. And she cannot tolerate it now, but in the rooms with these yellow wallpapers, she even vomited. She couldn't physically. It is physically. They do it not because they cannot sort of pull themselves together. They can't. physically. Their senses are very open. And patterns, because then the pattern starts moving. And how can you sort of feel safe if everything around you moving? When I started my own school 35 years ago, because at the time, you know, autism was not that recognized and the sensory problems, you know, my teachers didn't use perfume. Perfume was banned because some children couldn't tolerate it. They ran out of the classroom if they could smell it. And it's quite sort of common for autistic people. And that's why all perfume was banned. But another thing is, there are this very few children, perhaps in this group, who couldn't tolerate even the slightest smell. If you take a shower every morning, for example, and you think you are clean and you do not smell, think again, because you do. For some children, yes, you do. Sort of be careful about it as well. And in the, different children have problems with different senses. You know, that's why, again, I want to emphasize, remember, sensory profile of each child is very important if you want to succeed. So there are sensory therapies, right? And there are some methods, you know, when you can help it. First, identify which stimuli this particular child finds disturbing and either eliminate them, whether it is lights, whether it is sounds, whether it is smells, and so on and so on. Or, if it is impossible, provide the person with sensory aids. Like for vision, this is sensory aid. This is special. It's not sunglasses. It is tinted glasses, Erlin glasses. Perhaps you heard about Helen Erlin, an American psychologist who worked with dyslexics, and then she discovered that change of color helped them to read. And then she discovered that it helped autistic people with this visual hypersensitivity. You heard about Donna Williams, right? I hope, because she was a very insightful and she wrote a lot of books explaining this. I was lucky I met Donna and we talked a lot, and she was wearing these glasses. When we met, we were sitting on the floor in her bungalow, and my son at the time, nonverbal, he was only 5. He was running around us, and we were talking nonstop. Talking nonstop. She was talking, and I was listening because it was a great information she was giving me. And while he was running around with the toy flapping in front of his face, she said, look, contact Helen Erlin because his vision is like mine. She said, hypersensitive. She said, when I put on my glasses for the first time, I saw the whole room, not just bits and pieces, not fragments of the room. They put everything together, and I could tolerate some visual stimuli I couldn't before. And, at the time, I didn't know much. I said, no, you know, his hearing is very hypersensitive because, yes, his hearing was and is very hypersensitive. He can hear what I am doing in the kitchen downstairs from his bedroom, even if I try to sort of to do so not create any sounds to wake him up. He can hear it. She said, no, his hearing, yes, hypersensitive, but his main problem is vision, she said. Try it. And I did. It's good that I knew Helen and we screened for the color, and his color was brown. For Donna Williams, it was purple. For me, you can see this one. But you know what happened? It's not on now. He doesn't wear glasses at home because, because of me, because of him, it's quite dim. We have no bright lights. No, it's not allowed. And you know what? We are quite happy, but he won't leave the house without his glasses. And what is interesting, even if it is dark. By the way, when it is dark, this is even worse for them because bright, lights from cars passing or lights above them, it's even worse. So many people, yes, sort of pay attention to this, but I don't care about all their looks. When, now he's 36 years old, very tall, handsome young man, wearing dark glasses at night, but he won't leave the house without them. But okay, we say always he's our James Bond, sorry, and he is James Bond. He looks like this. So this is very important. Then earplugs, if it is here. Oh, I have to mention this. Donna was right. As soon as he started wearing these glasses, not the next day, but very soon, you know what happened? His hearing improved. Yes, it's still hypersensitive, but much, much better now. And I can explain this. All our senses working together, right? So if one sense is impaired, I mean like hypersensitive, the other sense will take its job. My son used his hearing to see. He knew what I was doing in the kitchen or in the next room by the sound. I put things on the table and whatever. But as soon as his vision was restored, I mean, he could see everything. His hearing, oh, now I'm fine, I am doing only my job, and that is it. So it was really fantastic. And he started talking, by the way, in a year after that. Echolalic, but nevertheless. And okay, it's okay. We can sort of provide the environment at home, like here, and at school, workplace, and whatever, if we know this particular person problems, right? But he or she wants to go out, right? We want to take our children out as well, and we cannot demand, somewhere, oh yes, switch off the light, do this, do that. No, that is why we have to desensitize them. I provide them with this if it's impossible, so it helps. I take my son to watch films, theaters and everywhere. Desensitization, the program of desensitization, right? Sort of occupational therapists know about it. And it does work. It makes it easier. Then monitor a number of simultaneous stimuli around the room, as I said already. If the child is hyposensitive most of the time, provide extra stimulation through these channels. For example, if it's hypovision, give the child bright, like shiny objects. If it is sounds, give them more sounds, and so on and so forth. And of course, this special therapies like Tamatis method, Barrett's method, they do not work for all children. So that's why, see, actually, I never used it. As I said, his hearing was very hypersensitive, but I used this, I treated it via glasses, via his vision, because I don't trust when you have to pay money, a lot of money, you know what I mean, to go through this therapist. But some say it works. I follow the research. Yes, for some children it works, for others, no. So mixed results in research. Very useful hug machine, Temple Grandin, right? She talks about it a lot because many children, I can tell you this, like my son, they do not feel where their body ends and the environment begins. Can you imagine? If you, Donna Williams again writes a lot about it. They are not inside their body completely. They don't know, they don't feel the boundary. This hug machine helped. It held the body, you know what I mean? And it helps a lot. What I discovered, of course, I had no hug machine at home, but weighted blankets. My son, insomnias, he couldn't sleep, he slept maximum 3-4 hours a night for many years. And of course, challenging behaviors at school or day center and whatever in the morning because lack of sleep. Then I discovered this weighted blankets. But of course, I will never sort of use something with my son if I'm not sure that it is safe. Of course, I bought 2 blankets. Heavy weighted blankets. I love it. I can't sleep without it either now. It's so good. It's like being embraced, you know. And my son love it. And after that, he started sleeping much, much better. Of course, I do other things that helps, but we are talking about senses now. There are weighted vests, but they were never tried it because we are fine with blankets and so on. Then sensory diets. Occupational therapists can provide these diets. These are exercises and special massage and so on and so forth. Is it okay if I continue a bit? This ability to hypersense, it's so interesting, as I said. They sometimes parents think that they have extrasensory perception because they can see, hear, smell, and feel what normal people can't. This is absolutely true. Sometimes, you know, they can do it. There is nothing extrasensory. Sorry, no ghost or whatever, nothing extrasensory. This is intense sensory systems. They do see more than normal people. Like Donna Williams and others say, they could see particles in the air, particles of dust in the air. And they were very bright for them. They were surrounded by them for some people. That's how they describe it. They can hear sounds outside, cars passing and people talking, and sort of we cannot hear it. In my family, you know, we had a problem, huge problem, because my son could hear the sound of this, you know, switch of heating. We couldn't hear it at all, and he could hear it from his bedroom. And that's why when we switched the heating on, and then it was cold, we couldn't understand because he was downstairs switching it off. All the time he couldn't tolerate the sound. So see, please remember about it. And emotional hypersensitivity. And I think we will talk about it next time. But I want to explain why I'm always talking about emotional hypersensitivities while talking about sensory hypersensitivities. Because what are emotions? They start as sensations, right? And if they sensory hypersensitive, it means they are emotionally hypersensitive. And next time I will explain about it. Is it okay? Yeah. And can I mention this? You know, Gordon said it already. So this book about sensory perception, sensory perceptual issues, you can see. I don't recommend it, don't worry. I don't want you to buy. I mean, this book is research-based. It's based on my dissertation and a lot of research after that, right? In many universities, this book is used. But several years ago, I decided all my books are written by like a professional, based on research, a professional, right? But you know, I'm getting older and older and whatever, and that's why a few years ago I decided I will write several books as a mother, but professional mother, you know what I mean? A professional and a mother, because I made mistakes. I want to write about my experiences and what can be done in this. And that's why I decided to write a series of books, 5, there will be 5, at least I hope there will be 5, under the title Autism Becoming a Professional Parent. And each book like this will be devoted to certain subjects like this, Autism Becoming a Professional Parent, first part, exploring the sensory world of autism. And this one, as I said, it's from the point of view of mother and professional. I want parents become professional parents, not professionals like in some other fields, but professional parents, because they will help you to learn why these children do what they do and what we can do. And my experiences as well, sort of, and again, research-based, not only, but it is for parents and teachers and social workers who work with families and children with autism. And this is the second one. It was published recently. Autism, learning to speak autistic. And again, if we continue with our sort of talks, I will tell you that sensory differences, they bring differences in language and communication development. And this year I'm planning to start to write a book about emotional development of these children. So they are not expensive because I always demand, otherwise I won't write books. These books for parents must be cheap because I'm a mother myself. When I give talks and whatever, I never charge parents because I think it is wrong. Okay, thank you for your attention. And if you want more, we can talk more later on.
That is fantastic. Thank you very much, Olga. Really, really insightful. And I've made lots of mistakes myself and learned from them, and I'm passing them on to parents as well.
Absolutely.
Because without making mistakes, we can't move forward, can we?
Of course not. No, of course not.
So that's really good. And thank you very much.